Good morning. It is time to discuss the scary movies. Ooh, spooky. Let me fix this camera. How's everybody doing today? Good morning. This lovely Wednesday. And I don't know about where you guys are, but it is actually particularly cold here in Los Angeles today. For some reason, this weather kind of sucks. Not a fan of that, but I guess you take it where you can get it. At least it's not snowing. I'll take that, and at least it's not 110 degrees or whatever. But anyway, welcome to this list, which is the your guys' scariest movies of all time. So in case you are just joining this whole thing, here's how it broke down. About a week or so ago, I read a list that I found on, I think it was Bloody Disgusting was the website that I found it on. And it was the scientifically proven scariest movies of all time. And how they had come up with the whole thing was that they strapped people into Fitbits, and if their pulse went up or if their heart rate was high, then they considered that to be a scary movie. And that's how they factored how scary a movie was, by somebody's heart rate. And I don't really think that works. I do want to clarify one thing that I feel is very important here. This is a very important clarification. My issue with the list is the methodology behind it, not the actual list itself. If somebody had approached me and told me, here's my list of scariest movies of all time, and they gave me that same exact list. They gave me Host and Sinister or whatever like that. That's what they gave me. I'd say that's cool. That's your list. I'm totally fine with that. The issue was that the article, the people pawning it off as a scientifically proven scariest movies of all time, when you can't just measure somebody's heart rate and decide that's a scary movie. There's a lot of different factors involved in that, which actually got me thinking quite a bit of what I consider to be scary, like what makes a movie scary to me. And one of the important things I think in terms of a scary movie is longevity. I think that if you're just sitting in a room and you're watching a dark movie and something pops out at you and you jump because you're frightened, but then you never think about that movie afterwards again, then that movie, it's not scary. If you're watching a movie, if you're sitting in your room and you're just chilling and like somebody just walks in and goes boo and scares you, like, that's not a scary time. It's a scary. Sorry, guys. I think my cat muted me. Anyhow, so again, if somebody said to me, "Hey, here's here's a scary movie," and that's a very important thing. So for me, when I factor it in, it's movies that stuck with me for a long time. My list, I came up with a list, which I'll talk about a little bit later on after I read the collection of it there. Are movies that stuck with me for a long period of time. If I've watched a movie and a week later I'm thinking about it and the issues of that movie are like creeping into my everyday life and it's actually affecting the way that I do things, or if I'm thinking about it, or if I'm sitting at home alone and I'm like concerned about the things in that movie happening to me, then that's a scary movie to me. So I really factored that into my list in a big way. Another thing that I factored into my list was movies that disturbed me. I think there's a very clear-cut line between a movie that I found disturbing and a movie that I found scary. something that disturbs me or upsets me or whatever, I don't necessarily consider to be scary. So I tried to really balance that out as well too. So that was a big factor in making my particular list. Another thing that I found out when doing this list is I think it matters again when you watch the movie is a big factor of things, because everybody that's watching this here, everybody that has seen this video, and everyone that sent in a list, and everyone that's talking about scary movies, I guarantee you that most of the movies on your list are things that you saw when you were young. One of the most common refrains that I hear from horror fans is they don't make scary movies anymore. Movies aren't as scary as they used to be, but that's not necessarily true. It may be true in some factors, but the big factor is that the movies are still scary today. You're just not scared of them because you're not a little kid afraid of things in the dark anymore. I know when I was younger, I was a chicken. I was very, very afraid of horror movies when I was a kid. My mom tells me stories of me hiding my head over everything. So, those things factor in there. You watch a movie today, it's not as frightening as what you're watching on the news. You're watching about the news about all the crazy things going on in this world, and all the insanity that's happening all around you on a daily basis. That's scary. Looking at your bills coming in the mail, that's scary. The thing that's in the closet, not so scary anymore. I think that there's definitely, not to get too depressing, but there's probably points where we're kind of wishing that there was a monster under our bed to be like, okay, cool. I don't have to worry about the rent because I just got eaten by a monster. Thank goodness. Anyway, that definitely factors in. So quite a few movies on the list are older. I think that if you grabbed a teenager and asked them what are the scariest movies of all time, their list would be very, very different. Because again, it's what you grew up. It's what you grew up with, and the things you saw when you were younger. So anyhow, there you go. So that factors into the list in a big way. Yeah. Movies are still scary. It's just scary in a different way. I know for me, when I watch movies anymore, they're not as scary as they used to be, but I still enjoy them. I still get that feeling. And I will say when I took a look at my list of movies that I made, only 3 of them are from the past like 20 years. They're all things that I saw when I was younger. So that's definitely a factor for me. And the movies that I put on my list that are newer were things that really stood out in a big way of more, I guess, a slightly more reality, I guess, but we'll discuss that in a minute. But anyhow, so what I asked of you guys was to send me your top 10 scary movies of all time. You send me this list of whatever movies you thought were scary. And you could use any criteria. For me, like I said, I used movies that from all time, movies that I remember that affected my daily life. If there was something that had me haunted afterwards and thinking about it, and scared to turn in the corner because the creature or something like that from the movie would be there, that's what I factored in. However, you guys come up with your list, that's all well and good. I did get, including my own, there's 76 lists that factored in here. So ultimately, there's a pretty good amount of lists. And all I did was I just wrote them all down. Whenever you guys would send me in a list, I would write them down and I would tally it off. If somebody else the next person sent me their list and it had similar movies, I would just put a hash mark there. So the way I compiled it is I have a list here of probably about 300 movies. And I tallied them all up. And what I'm going to tell you today are the top 20s, the top 20 with the most votes. So pretty exciting. I'm going to take a look at the chat here. I see a lot of familiar people, a lot of familiar patrons. Thank you guys for coming in. I see Uncle Pete and Steven there. I see Sarah. How's it going? I see Heather in there. Welcome in. So thank you guys for joining me on this lovely thing, this little live stream. Hopefully, I know some of you guys sent me your list and everything as well too. All right, here we go. Let me see. I have a little bit of a visual aid for you guys here as well too. Slide that over there. Come on. I should have a visual aid here, but it's not clicking over. All right. It's not working. I'm not getting my other side of the screen here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oops. Let's see if we can... All right, so it's not an attractive layout there. Here we go. At the number 20 part here. So there's a four-way tie basically here. Number 20, 19, 18, and 17 movies. So 4 movies in a row. All got 7 votes each. So these all have 7 votes. And I just put them in any order. So these aren't really in any order. But number 20 is The Ring with 7 votes. The American version, there was... now, this was a little bit difficult because... I will say, thankfully, most people specified the American version or the remake, and other people did specify Ringu, or they put the ring and they typed in Japanese. So I did know. So I'm fairly confident that these 7 votes were for the American version, for the American remake. But I can't say 100% for sure, but I'm pretty sure. But The Ring, yeah, it's actually a fairly well done movie. It's pretty scary. I'm not mad about this at all being up there. It's a pretty good flick. I know for myself, I thought I was pretty creeped out by it. So I know there was at least a great jump moment. I know that closet scene is forever like a very disturbing thing that creeped me out for a while. So yeah, I will agree that The Ring was a pretty good scary movie. I liked it. Comparing it to the Japanese version, I will say that the ending of the Japanese version was so much better. Like that's the scene of the girl in the TV in the Japanese version is about 100 times better done than the American version. It's amazing. But I thought that the American version was actually more consistently creepy. The Japanese version started out strong, got a little normal in the middle. I know when the first time I watched Ringu, I was halfway through going like, I thought this was supposed to be like a really, really scary movie. And then by the ending of it, I was, whoa, geez, that was awesome. So great flick. Also with 7 points, I guess this would technically be number 19. Is Audition. Audition is kind of funny because this is one that I love Audition, and it is very scary. But I myself didn't put it on my list because I felt it was this was one of the ones that I considered more disturbing than scary. But it's an excellent movie. It's really, really good, and it is. I definitely see why people would have it on their list. There's a lot of moments on this that are fantastic. There's one moment that if you've seen Audition, there's one scene in particular that I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about that involves a moving sack that is just very like what just happened. Great flick and pretty deserving. You probably saw because I scrolled a little bit too hard, but the next one on the roster is Sinister, which is one I don't agree with. I did not really care for Sinister whatsoever. I don't really find it to be scary, but 7 of you guys did, and I get it. I definitely get it. There's a couple of moments in the movie that I find to be unsettling, but it didn't really affect me in any way, shape, or form. I will say that I did not think of any of the scare moments in Sinister for 1 minute after I saw it. But I thought that if it could have been a pretty decent movie if the ending had stuck. Unfortunately, I really felt like it was much better in the beginning than it was in the ending. The next one on the roster, I guess technically number 17, although this is also tied with 7 points, is The Conjuring, which was also, keep in mind also, Sinister and The Conjuring were both on that scientific list as well too. But The Conjuring is one that I don't find scary at all. But I get that people do. It's not one that I'm mad about people finding scary. For me, the Conjuring, I've compared it in other videos to like a greatest hits album. Everything that was in The Conjuring I had seen before, and I thought done a little bit better. But I think it was done well. So I understand if you guys enjoy The Conjuring and think it's really scary. It doesn't do it for me. But I get it. 7 people voted it on their list, and I'm not mad about that. So then we move on to number 16 with 8 points. It was the only movie to get 8 votes. 8 votes is Suspiria, the original, which I totally get. Man, Suspiria is creepy as all get out. I think that when you watch it today, if you watch Suspiria today, it's more beautiful, and there's definitely some parts in it that are very campy and goofy. But I know when I was younger, everyone always talked about Suspiria as being this like really scary movie, and like I think I totally get it because of the, I mean that intro scene with the with the window and everything, like the glass coming down, and the barbed wire room and all that stuff and all those crazy colors. So I definitely remember this being considered a very scary movie at the time. I don't think that this is one that I think that age and time has really factored in. I did not see Suspiria until much later in life because I was actually too afraid to watch it because everyone had told me how scary and gross and crazy that it was. So I was not up for watching it. But a phenomenal flick. I finally watched the remake the other night, which I thought was all right. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it yet. I feel like I might need another rewatch to totally digest it, but it's so long that I don't want to rewatch it. But it was good, but could have been better. I had some issues with it. Anyhow, let's go on to the next one on the list. So the next one is actually 2, because for 14th and 15th place, both had 9 votes. So 9 votes each of these movies. So the first one is Candyman, which I totally get. I completely get. And if anybody out there right now is saying, "Oh, come on, Candyman's not scary," I dare you to go find your friends, any of your friends, and just say, "Hey, go say Candyman 5 times in the mirror," and you tell me if they actually do it. Because it is one, I will say that this is one that works. When I did my video and I said Candyman 5 times in the mirror, Christy was freaked out. She was like, "Don't do that. Don't do that." So something that will stick in you that much, that will remain in there. Come on, you know that. It's definitely something that sticks up there. Very scary. Tied for it though. This one might be one that people do not agree with, but I'm there for it. Is Hereditary. The poster's a little bit off, but there we go. Hereditary is, I think, an excellent movie. This is one that I felt a little bit more disturbed than I felt scared by. Definitely had some tense moments. I love Hereditary. I think it's an excellent movie. I just don't know if it's one that really it didn't stick with me in terms of scares, but it definitely stuck with me in terms of things to think about. I think about Hereditary quite a bit. It's one that I definitely want to do an unanswered questions video on, because I think that there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of layers in the movie, and I've really really loved it. But again, I don't think it's one that really scared me watching it. I know that I felt very tense at a couple of times, but really loved it. Taking a look at the chat here too, because I'm sorry, I've been kind of ignoring it, and I apologize. But I'm seeing there a couple of questions. Someone asked if Quiet Place is a horror film. Sure, why not? Killer aliens slaughtering people. Hell yeah, absolutely. I have not yet seen the Candyman remake, so I can't say anything about that. I've heard good things about it. A couple of friends of mine that do not like remakes really liked it. They said it was well done. But I don't know. We'll see. I'll check it out. I actually have a copy of it, but I just haven't watched it yet. That's one I've been waiting for Christy to watch with me, because I know that she wants to see it very, very much. All right, moving down the list here. Number 13 with 10 votes. 10 people voted for. Come on now. Technical difficulties. Night of the Living Dead from 1968, which I will absolutely agree with. Man, yeah. Night of the Living Dead, it started a genre. It started zombies, the way we think of them, and it is just amazing. I can see it definitely being a movie that scared people. I know, definitely for us older folks, it was one that stuck with us. I know for a fact, like my mom tells me about like going to see Night of the Living Dead in the theater and saying that, like, you know, she could not sleep afterwards, and how disturbing it was. And I really like it. So, yeah, Night of the Living Dead, you can't go wrong with that movie. And it is a scary movie. It may not be one that people watch today and think is very scary, but it's one of those ones that over time, like, I think if anybody sitting down with a freaking Fitbit on watching Night of the Living Dead right now are not going to be frightened by it, because we've seen all of the tropes. We've seen everything a million times already. So obviously the things that we see are not going to scare us, but it is one historically that it's going to be one that scares people over the long haul. Okay, going on. Number 12 with 11 votes, a movie that I've been knee deep in. Oh, The Evil Dead. And this is funny. I love that this is on here, because Evil Dead is never a movie that I've considered scary in the sense of like I think about it afterwards in terms of scary. But damn, I love it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I got to go see it on the big screen last week. It was just amazing. I loved it very, very much. And yes, and no spoilers here, but you'll be seeing a little bit of Evil Dead stuff a little bit later this week, in just 2 days. Yes. Going into the chat, I see some people talking about the Candyman movie about being too political, and I have said it before, and I'll say it again, that you can't be more political than the original Candyman. The original Candyman is an insanely political movie. So it's I haven't seen the new one yet, but I find it hard to believe that it's more political than the previous. Yes, and I agree that Evil Dead isn't scary, but I mean, I think it is great, and I can see that people are scared by it. I can see people wanting to not be around trees anymore after that, especially if you're, especially the ladies walking in the forest, never want to see another tree in your life. I get that. Jesus, trees. Okay, so moving up onto the list here, this is going to take us into the top 10. But the next 3 movies all have 14 votes each. So number 9, 10, and 11 all are tied for 14 votes here, and I love this run. I love all three of these here. Here you go. Blair Witch Project. And I know that there's probably quite a few out there right now that might be groaning about this, but I think you're forgetting just how impactful that this movie was at the time. I know this is on my list of movies because I could not get this movie out of my head after watching it. I think this was one of the first times that we had seen in a major way of the hey, let's pretend that this is reality kind of a movie. It had been done before. It had been done before, but I think that this was the first time that this is the first time that it had been on such a big way. And I know the reality factor of it, I used to describe it to people when people would say like, oh, was it a good movie? And I used to say it's kind of hard to judge it as a movie because it feels more like an experience. If you go and watch the Blair Witch Project and you put yourself in the mindset that you are watching a bunch of tapes that are just found in a forest, then yes, you will love it. I loved it. I was convinced they did a very good job at making it feel real and convincing me that it was an actual thing. A lot of found footage movies don't do that very well. The Blair Witch, the third Blair Witch movie, I guess the Blair Witch is a perfect example of a movie that completely failed to make me think that it was actual footage, whereas the original one felt like real footage. I loved it. I absolutely love it. I think it is very scary. It haunted me for a while afterwards. Oh yeah, Poltergeist. This is also on my list. Yes, if you saw Poltergeist when you were younger, you were afraid of clowns. I know for myself, I peg the whole modern fear of clowns on Poltergeist. I think that it was a huge contributor to that. And I think that it was one of the first movies that really played into that whole, like, hey, clowns can be kind of creepy and scary. I think that I know as a kid, the other thing that affected me was the guy pulling his face off. Man, did that stick with me a whole lot. I was sort of afraid of swimming pools after that because of the skeletons and dead bodies in the pool. I mean, there's so many moments in this that were very, very scary and creepy that stuck out to all of us that saw this when we were younger. And this absolutely deserves to be on this list. The final movie with 14 points, one of the newer ones, The Descent. I completely agree here. I know The Descent totally stuck with me, and it makes me afraid of being in confined spaces. If you have any sort of claustrophobia, then this is the movie that you should not watch because it's definitely claustrophobic. Last year we went up hiking up in Escalante, and we went in some slot canyons. Slot canyons are, those little narrow things. And there was quite a few times in there where I was looking around for crawlers. So yes, definitely stuck with me and kept me scared after the fact. Okay, moving on to number 8. Again, we're now in the top 10. I'm kind of bummed out that this is number 8, and I think you'll know why when I get to it. But with 18 points, Jaws. Jaws, as you all know by now, is my favorite movie of all time. I love it more than anything. I also find it to be one of the scariest movies of all time. And if you don't think it's scary, then you're not in the ocean enough, because the ocean's damn scary. And you know that I will still not go into the ocean past my knees because of Jaws. Still, I'm 87 years old, and I still will not walk out into the ocean past my knees because of it. So it's just unbelievable. Oh, thank you, Uncle Pete. Thank you for that, Uncle Pete. I appreciate it. And make sure y'all go check out your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete's YouTube channel as well, and watch some cool kills on horror movies, enjoyable stuff. But yeah, Jaws, it's terrifying. And when I was younger, I would not go into swimming pools at times because I was looking around for sharks. So it's definitely had an impact. Yeah. You go ahead, push me in the water. You will just hear me scream like a little, like Stella. I'll scream like Stella. Like, ah! I do not do well in the ocean. I went to the ocean a couple of weeks ago with Stella, and I actually ended up out in the water up to about chest level, and I was surprised that I was actually out that far, and I immediately turned around and went back. Okay, so when we go on to the next three movies, number 5, 6, and 7, all got 19 votes each. 19 votes each for each of these movies. So it's a three-way tie here. So these are in no order. But the first one is The Thing, which is again one of my favorite movies of all time. I will say that it's not one that scared me when I was younger. I think it was definitely a tense movie, but it was one that I didn't. It was a movie I thought about afterwards a lot, of just thinking about like the science of it, but not so much the scares of it. But yes, it's one of the best horror movies, if not like top 3 best horror movies of all time. It's just an amazing, wonderful, wonderful movie. But it was not one that I personally found scary. It's just one that I've always loved since the beginning. But I didn't like afterwards. I wasn't like afraid of the people that I met, thinking, "Is this person a thing?" Like, and those were the ones that stuck with me. Those are the things that affected me on my daily life. But there you go. All right. I knew this was going to be on here, and I approve, because The Shining is definitely a movie that stuck with me. I think when you have that big old scary ghosts and stuff, it's definitely there. Professor Victor from the Horror Movie Syllabus is here as well, too. If that's another YouTube channel, you should check out the Horror Movie Syllabus, guys. It's great stuff there also. But yeah, The Shining is definitely one that stuck with me. I can actually pinpoint. It's on my list, and I can pinpoint the exact thing why. The scene with Jack Nicholson with the woman in the bathtub definitely messed me up as a kid. It was one that I was haunted by, and it stuck with me, and terrified by that particular scene. I was afraid of hotels. So, like, whenever we'd go to a hotel for a holiday and I'd be walking down those corridors of the hotel, I found it very similar to that. And I had read the book, and obviously two different things. I read the book after seeing the movie, and I thought the book was excellent as well. But they're two different things. They're not. It's not this. It doesn't even feel like the same story. But great. And I disagree that the movie's ruined. I think that I see them as two individualized things. I appreciate the book for what it is, and I appreciate the movie for what it is, because the movie does take advantage of a lot of the visual medium of being a movie, where obviously the book cannot. Also, then the last one with 19 points. So I guess technically number 5. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and yes, absolutely a scary movie. I didn't have it on my list because it wasn't one that like really affected me from a scaring standpoint. But it's again one of my all-time favorite horror movies. I will watch this any day, anytime. I love it. Such a great movie. Fantastic movie. Again, it wasn't one that like scared me, like, oh no, Leatherface is going to come for me. But yeah, it's such a great movie. I don't know how you can not be unsettled by it when you're watching it. That's for sure. And certainly when you're traveling through the Midwest, I think it's always in our back of our minds that we're going to end up in a hillbilly house. Which, yeah, one interesting thing about Texas Chainsaw Massacre is that it's not even like it's that crazy isolated. It's not like it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of just like a regular small rural town, and like the house isn't even that far out in the middle of nowhere, but so great. Okay, number 4 with 21 points. 21 points. Another one that I wholeheartedly agree with, and when I read this list off to Christy last night, she told me that this might be her number 1. Nightmare on Elm Street. I love this poster. I don't know. I've never seen this poster before. Nightmare on Elm Street. Yes, it's a scary movie. I know a lot of people were afraid to go to sleep after watching this one. So yes, definitely a scary flick. 21 of you put it on your top 10. So obviously it's one that stuck out. And yeah, Freddy was scary at a point in time. Freddy like really stuck with people, and I think I think that's one that really factored in a lot of people. I mean, it's still obviously a great movie. I just watched it not that terribly long ago, just like a week or two ago, and it's great. I don't think you could call this not a scary movie. At number 3, with 26 votes, a big jump there. This was one that was on so many lists, and I love it. And it's, I think, something that people don't necessarily think of when you think of the scariest movie. Alien. And Alien is a scary ass movie. Yes. It is. It's a haunted house movie. It's a haunted house movie in space. And instead of a ghost, it's an alien. That's all it is. It's such a great flick, and it is scary. I have it on my list. It's on my personal list, and I can tell you why. Apparently, when I was very young, my mom worked at a place that had screenings, like they had free movie screenings, and they had Alien. So she took us to see Alien, and she said I was probably too young to be going to Alien, but she took us anyway. And she said that I didn't open my eyes for the entire movie. She said I probably watched about 3 minutes of the entire movie, and all I could talk about for the next week was the alien coming. So obviously had a huge impact on young Josh, and is one of the greatest movies of all time. Yeah. I don't think it's a movie that modern audiences think of as a scary movie, but okay. So now number 2 with 29 votes, and I'm sure this one is no surprise and pretty fitting for what week we're in. Halloween, the night that he came home. Yes, definitely a scary ass movie, and one that I think sticks with a lot of people. This one was not on my list, but it is a movie I find scary. I just don't have it it wasn't in my top 10, but it is a great movie. And the scary thing about Michael Myers, again, was the fact that there was no reason for him to be doing what he did. He just did it. And that's pretty disturbing. I don't know, the original Halloween, slasher movies are always a tough thing for me because I've never found slasher movies to be like scary, like sticking with me after the fact of like, I'm worried about slashers. So it wasn't like I'm haunted by them, but I always loved them. Halloween is, again, one of the greatest horror flicks of all time. Horror movie syllabus asked if our college movies excluded from your list. I don't know what that means. What is that? Like movies that are set in a college? What is that? What? I don't get that. But is that something that was discussed from earlier? I think I might have missed it, but anyhow. Okay, so sorry about that. I was intruding on someone else's conversation. I apologize. All right, so here we go. Number 1. This should surprise no one. Certainly doesn't surprise me, but with 32 votes, is The Exorcist. And yes, it's a scary ass movie. I said this before, but if you are a younger person and you've seen a bunch of horror movies and someone says, oh, but you need to see The Exorcist, and they sit you down to watch it, you're probably not going to be scared by it because, I mean, there's been countless parodies and jokes and like sort of recreations of what they've done. I mean, The Conjuring like literally did an entire riff on The Exorcist. I mean, so it's hard to see it as something like, oh, well, I'm freshly scared by this thing. But it was a movie that terrified an entire generation of people and beyond. And let's face it, this poster right here, I'm sure that lots of posters say this, but this poster right here tells you that they built it. It was quite regarded as the scariest movie of all time. So there you go. I agree. I love The Exorcist. It is definitely a movie that is very scary and disturbing, and will stick with you. It stuck with me for a long time. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I remember I did not see The Exorcist until I was a teenager, and I was watching it on a Halloween night, and it was by myself. I stayed home. I was handing out candy to the kids in the neighborhood. And after everything was all said and done, I went upstairs and I was like, I guess I'll just watch a horror movie. And I started to watch The Exorcist. So I was alone in my house on Halloween night watching The Exorcist. I got up until the point where they play the tape recorder backwards and it's the voice saying, "It's a priest, and let her die." And I turned it off. I was like, that's enough. I'm done. And I gave up on watching it. I came back to it like a day or two later. So yeah. So there you have it. There's the top 20. I will tell you my personal list was fairly similar. I have a couple in here that were not on the top 20. I had Jaws on my list, obviously. I had The Shining on there. Blair Witch Project I had on there. I had Alien on there. The Descent I did have on there. Poltergeist was on my list as well, too. But I had several that did not make the top 10, and there was actually one or two that only got one or two votes. But I did have Prince of Darkness on my list. I did have Prince of Darkness on there because that dream set. Oh, hey, Josh from Camp Blood Media is here. What's happening, Josh? Another YouTube channel you guys should check out. Go to Camp Blood Media. Awesome stuff on there as well, too. But Prince of Darkness is not that scary of a movie when you watch it right now. I will say that it's not that scary, but the dream sequences were something that really stuck with me, and I had a really hard time with them. And whenever they would come on, they haunted me. They haunted me very, very much when I was younger. So I put them on that because of that. I would have nightmares about those dream sequences. So that's why that stuck in there for me. I also had the original Blob on there because this was one that really, really affected me when I was younger. Not the Blob remake, although that did actually scare the crap out of me for a completely different reason. But I will say that the original Blob terrified me to the point that I had a hard time walking around because I would be afraid to turn a corner and the Blob would come out and get me and just envelop me and eat me. I was terrified by that as a kid, and it stuck with me for a very, very long time. So I had to put that on my list because obviously it had a huge impact on me when I was younger. I also had so the last two movies on my list are more modern movies, but they're ones that stuck with me. And I'll give you the first one is one that is one of the ones that borderline between disturbing and scary, but it's the Poughkeepsie tapes. But the Poughkeepsie tapes is very scary and also very disturbing. It's a little bit of both. But I realized that at night before I go to bed, I make sure that things are locked. I have a ball bat beside my bed. And I realized that a lot of that is because of the Poughkeepsie tapes and like the scene where the guy's already in a house and finding out too late. So those things really stuck with me and scared me and kind of affected like how I how I do things. So I definitely consider that to be one of the scariest movies I have ever seen. It is also one of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen. But if I'm drawing that line between scary and disturbing, it definitely falls. It definitely hits both. But I love it. And then the final movie I had on my list that was not on the top 10 is Savage Land, which is one I don't really think a lot of people would consider on that list. I mean, it's one that is only on my list for personal things. If you've seen Savage Land, if you haven't seen Savage Land, it's a fake documentary. There's really not much horror in it. It's mostly still photographs that are shown. But there is a scene near the ending of the movie that affected me rather personally. And I think it has to do with because it has to do with a young girl, and obviously it affected me because of having a young daughter, and really stuck with me in that essence. So there you go. There's those. That's my personal list. I'll also let you know a couple of the ones that are on here. That some of the other interesting picks in there. I'm going to check out the chat first real quick and see there. I haven't seen the first the new VHS movie yet. Holding off on that one. I'll probably watch it this week. But we'll see. I haven't checked it out. I've been watching. I've been doing a horror movie a day for October. That is not channel related. I've just been trying to do things that are things I normally wouldn't watch for the channel. I will tell you that I am keeping track of that up on Letterboxd. My name is Rex Case on Letterboxd, where I've been listing off some of the things I've been watching. Some of them have been classics, like I watched Black Sunday the other day, which I haven't seen in a long time, and then some new things. Like I watched the new Escape Room movie. I watched a movie called Bloody Hell. I watched Old. So if you want to know what I think about some of the more recent stuff, you can check that out as well too. And I do want to watch. I'll probably watch VHS 2 in the near future. I heard it's okay, but I will check it out. But let's see. So here on the list, I'll read you off some of the ones that didn't quite make the list. I know almost making the list. Almost making the top 20 were Rosemary's Baby, Record. Lake Mungo got 5 votes, which I hardly approve of. Hellraiser got 5. Scream got 5. Paranormal Activity. But there was a lot of interesting ones that got only 1 vote, and I do want to highlight some of those ones that I thought were fun picks that were kind of out of the vaults, that I was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. I love that Elephant Man got 1 vote, because that is one that I could think of. Man, if you saw Elephant Man as a small child, I could totally understand being terrifying to you. So I'm totally down with that. Somebody had Old Boy on there, which I totally get, although Old Boy falls into that disturbing category more for me, but I definitely get somebody having it on that list. Great flick anyway. Somebody had Extra on their list, which is awesome. There's that. I love Extra, and there's that one scene in that movie with the thing walking across the road where it's just like, that's one of the most like, what did I just see moments, and great stuff. I love it. Somebody had I want to call this out. Somebody had Johnny Got His Gun on their list, and holy cow, that's actually a very good pick. If you haven't seen Johnny Got His Gun, it's the movie that the Metallica video for what the hell song is that? Why can't I think of it? I have the song in my head. Nothing else. It might, I don't know, whatever. Nothing else matters. Anyhow, One. Thank you, Uncle Pete. It's the video that they had for One, and it's a guy about a guy with locked-in syndrome, and locked-in syndrome is one of the most terrifying things ever. And it just, the whole idea, if you're watching it, just the idea of being locked in is very, 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 very scary. I love that. Only one person had Phantasm on their list. Damn it! And I love Phantasm. Somebody had I think it was Travis Does Kayak Fishing had the Unnameable on her list, which I love. I love that that had the Unnameable on the list, and that creature is awesome. I could see somebody seeing that as a youth and being very creeped out by that monster. It's pretty awesome. Yes, there's a couple in here. Stephen Bell had Inland Empire and Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me on the list. Both movies that are pretty disturbing and creepy, very, very creepy. I love this. One of the ones on the list was Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue, which I need to look that up and see what that is. I'm kind of curious to know what Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue is. Again, going back to the notion of movies that are really, really scary to you as a child that may not be now. Somebody had Friday the 13th Part 8 on their list, which is awesome, because if we think about it right now, you're just like, Halloween, Friday the 13th Part 8, it's not scary. Who would ever think that? But I mean, if you're a kid and it's like your first Jason movie, come on now. It's like those things will stick with you forever. So I think that's one of the most important things to think about is when you saw the movie. Somebody had Repulsion on their list, which is, man, that's a good movie. It's probably one I put more in the disturbing category than scary, but yeah, I definitely get that being on there. We had a couple of more modern ones on there. Somebody had Us on their list. Somebody had 1408 on their list. The Changeling is one that I was surprised only made it on one list with George C. Scott. Great flick. I definitely think that it's one you watch today and it's not that scary, but when you see it when you're younger, it's definitely scary. But yeah, a lot of good stuff on here. A lot of great movies, and I kind of appreciate all of them. And I definitely appreciate you guys sending in those lists and help me come up with this, because I feel like my roster is better than that scientifically proven one. This one's not quite as scientific, but I think it's a better list. But anyway, I guess some quick housekeeping. You guys, there's some stuff coming your way very, very shortly. I have a surprise video for you tomorrow. It's a very short one, but there is a surprise video for you on a Thursday. I kind of had to get it out before a certain something. And then on Friday, you do have a very, very cool video coming your way. That is celebrating a particular film's anniversary. So that's coming up. Next week, you've got 2 videos coming your way, one of which is an update to an old timeline that I did. So just kind of some more movies have been released, so just doing an update there. And then, next Friday, you've got a timeline for a movie series that I haven't yet covered yet that I think will be surprising. And one of the movies was actually talked about today. I'll leave it as that, as a little surprise there. And then the week after that, which will be the week of Halloween, there's another timeline and a special list coming your way. It's one of the rip-off lists, which I know everybody really enjoys. And then we go into November, which is Vampire Month. I'm really looking forward to Vampire Month. But all right, you guys, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it, and I'll be talking to you guys soon. And enjoy the rest of the day. Go to a haunted house or something like that. Or more importantly, just watch some scary movies. Bye, guys.